Welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'll be taking you to public policy model, and my name is Isaka Piusomolo. I will be trying today to talk a little bit about public policy models. We will see different models such as the organizational process model, the government or bureaucratic political model. We'll also talk about rational model as well as system model. Also, we'll talk about institutionalism model. Also, we'll see also about incremental model as well as LTZ model, and not forgetting public choice model. So, welcome to this channel, and I hope you will learn a lot about public policy models. Let's start by looking on the organizational process model. The particular decision or policies chosen by decision makers can often be explained through references to the organizational particular structure. So when you talk about an organization, you focus on the structure and procedures and rules that are within the organization. So these procedures and structure explain how decisions are made in the organization. Also, we are looking on the distribution of responsibility among organizational subunits. So these subunits in the organization work together to formulate or to achieve a certain goal. So these activities, there is a coordination of activities, there is a coordination of groups which work together to achieve certain goal. So this model focus on organization structure, procedure, as well as routine that shape decision-making process of the organization at large. So it views decision as outcome of established process rather than individual action. So what are the assumptions of this model? Its assumption is that complex government is made up of collection of loosely affiliated semi-feudal groups, each with significant existence of its own. These as what we talk here. We talked about subgroups. So these subgroups exist in the organization and they coordinate. So there is a coordination of groups. These groups coordinates to form decision or to achieve certain goal in the organization. So the decision that is formulated, or the what the organization wants to achieve in the organization, is not a decision that is made of or a result of an individual. Rather, it is a result or an outcome of an established process. So decisions are based on the output of several entities, not just a single entity. So it is based on the output of several entities functioning independently. As we said that they are subgroups. So they are functioning independently according to the standards, patterns of behavior, but partially coordinated by government leaders. So the whole idea of organizational process is that in the organization there are structures, procedures, and routines. So these shape the decision process of the organization. So it views that public policy is a result of organizational process, is a result of routines that are undertaken, or the result of these subgroups, the result of subgroups that are within the organization. Another is the government or bureaucratic political model. So this model emphasizes the role of individual actors. The last model which we talked about emphasizes the role of system as large and not an individual actor. But the government or bureaucratic politics model focuses on individual actors, groups, and their interest in the decision-making process within the organization. So it sees that decision-making are a result of bargaining. So decision-makings are a result of bargaining, negotiation, and competition among the different stakeholders. So these stakeholders bargain, and they negotiate, and they enter what is called the competition to achieve the desired outcome. So these stakeholders have different interests, and everyone is striving to get the interest that they have to be in a policy. So the policy is a result of these politicians or these bureaucrats, what they demand. So these individual actors have their interest in the process or decision making. So the assumption of this model is that government decisions are not made by monolith state. They are not made by monolith state based on rational choice, but rather they are negotiated. They are negotiated by various leaders, so who sit in the top of the organization involved in particular decision making. So each leader compelled by his conception of a problem, as well as by the imperatives of his organization and his personal goals. So there is bargaining, negotiation, and the competition in the process of decision making, as what we can see is going on in the parliament. So that is how the government or bureaucratic political model suggests that policy is the result of bargaining process and negotiation process among these individual actors having their different interests. So they come up with different interests, and these interests serve as a catalyst for decision making in process within the organization. Another model is rational model. This approach emphasizes the policy decision involve a choice among policy alternative. It involves a choice among policy alternative. So it involves a choice among policy alternatives. So we are talking about policy alternatives, that there are many alternatives, but we have a choice among those alternatives, and we don't just take this choice from somewhere. It must be a rational choice. That's why we say it based on the rational grounds. Rational policy making is to choose the best. So what we are talking about is that the best option is a rational option. So Thomas Dye equates rationality with efficiency. So a policy is irrational when difference between the value it achieves and the value it sacrifices is positive and higher than any other policy alternative. So he further observed that the idea of efficiency involves the calculation of all social, political, and economic value sacrificed or achieved by public policy, not just those that can be measured in monetary terms. So what is the assumption of this model? So this model views policy making in a logical way. So it is a logical way. So decision making are made in a logical way. So policy makers think in a logical way. They want to find the best. So they want to find the best alternative, as we talked earlier, that there is a choice here. So this choice is not just a choice, it is the best choice that they have. So this choice is selected to achieve a certain goal. So we don't just select that choice, but that choice will be selected based on a good study of the problem, and looking on the range of solutions that exist, which we already talked here, that there are alternatives. So we select alternative based on the best alternative that we have to solve that particular problem. So this model view policymakers as accumulators of information. So they collect information. They are accumulators of information, that they collect information that are necessary in the formulation of a decision. So they design alternative, different cost of alternative, then they select the best option that exists in that alternative. That's why they become rational. So in general, the rational model assumes that decisions are made, or public policies made based on in a logical way, by selecting the best choice among the alternative that exist in the society. Another is system model. The policy making process has been regarded by David Heston. It has been regarded by Heston as a black box, so which converts the demand of the society into policies. While analyzing political system, David Heston in 1965 argued that the political system is that part of the society which is engaged in the authoritative allocation of values. Input are seen as the physical, social, economical, as well as political product of the environment. They are received in the political system in the form of both demand and supports. So demands are the claim made on the political system by individuals and a group to alter some aspects of the public policy. So what is the assumption of this policy model? So system model assumes that policy are emerging from complex interconnectedness, social systems. When we talk about social systems, we include things like the government, we include citizens, we include business, and the other different social systems. So these systems interconnect together to formulate policies. So it is not just an action of a single unit, it is an action of different units working together to accomplish a certain goal. So a product system model is a product of different systems or subsystems working together to achieve a certain goal, and this system can include the government, citizen, business, and other systems. So the model focuses on attention beyond static institutions. So it is not about the static institution of policy making. So it works on the dynamic process involving different actors in the process of policy making, which is likely to involve more than a single institution. So policy making process, it does not involve a single institution, it involves a different range of actors that are involved in the process. Another public policy model is the institutionalism model. Institutionalism model focuses on the government as an institution for policy analysis. Government as an institution of policy analysis. So it covers the realm of key government institutions. So government institutions include the parliament, the executive including government departments. So executive is the one including all the government departments, and the judiciary. In other words, a policy does not take the shape unless it is adapted and implemented by government institutions. The government institutions endure public policy with three distinct characteristics. So the first characteristic is that Firstly, the government inverts legal authority to policies. So the government is the one having legal authority to the policies. And the second one is that application of public policy is universal. Only public policy extends to all citizens in the state. Thirdly, public policy involves coercion. It is applied to the act of government in backing up its decision, as a policy convey the possibilities for imposing penalties through coercion if necessary. Only the government can legally impose negative sanction or on violators of its policy. So another is the incremental model. Incremental model was developed by Charles Lindblom. So it is a critics. Charles Lindblom was a critic of traditional rational model. So he criticized the idea that was advocated by Simon and others. Lindblom had rejected the idea that decision making was essentially something which was about defining goals, selecting alternatives, and comparing alternatives, as we talked when we are talking about relational model, that we define goal, what we want to achieve, then we select the alternative that exists, then we compare alternative. We see which one is the best and which one is not the best. So Lindblom wanted to show that national decision making was simply not workable for complex policy questions. So to Lindblom, constraints of time, intelligence, cost in the political prevents policy makers to identify societal goals and their consequences. So he drew the distinction between Herbert Simon's concept of comprehension, rationality, and his own idea of successive limited comparison or branch of decision making. So what's the idea of incremental? So Charles Lindblom's idea was that public policy evolve over time. So we make gradual changes, we make small changes in the present or in the current policy to formulate another policy. So this policy model, the incremental approach model of decision making, involve a process of continuity, building out from a current situation step by step and small by small, also in small degrees. So we change different aspects of the things that can happen, things that we see that require the attention or require some changes, then we change them into best. To make them more best or more effective or more efficient, we have to make some changes in the policy that already exists. So the overall idea of incremental is that as it sounds, increment, so to increase different aspects that did not exist before. So we add different aspects of policy. For example, maybe we can have a policy of free education, but free education is a policy maybe limiting from standard 1 to standard 7 only. But when we can add another, maybe high school also, they must have free education, or higher educations like university or whatever. So that is an incremental model. So incremental model is all about making changes to the policy, just small changes to the policy, but not from the beginning, because there is already a policy that exists. So this is not a synoptic model that include the comprehensive analysis of policy. It does not include the comprehensive analysis of policy. Rather, it includes small changes to the current policy. So another is the elitism model. The theory has its origin in the work of Mosca and Parrott. So these are the co-founders of this theory. They argue that the policy-making process is dominated by mostly elite or powerful elites. So these elites have the power in the society, so they are the one formulating policies on the behalf of the entire community. So elite theory of the policy process is based on the proposition that power is concentrated on the hands of few elites. So these few elites have the power in the society. So policy making, according to the elite theory, is a process which works to the advantage of these elites. So the theory holds that in the real world there are those at the top with power and other at the bottom, which are called the masses without power. So the theory also contends that the elite, where we are talking about those people who have power, they have values and have money, they have education and they have power. So they govern the masses who are apathetic and ill-informed about public policy. So in an environment which is characterized by apathy and information disorientation, elites influence mass opinions and the policy issues more than masses influence their elite opinions. So in this framework, policy flow downward from the elite to the masses. Thus, public policy is viewed as the preference and the value. So it is a preference and the values of governing elites. So because they have power, they are the one who can decide, they are the one who can formulate policies. So policies are based on what they require or what they prefer. So elitism model view public policies as the one making policies in their society. So public officials and the administrators merely implement the policy decided by these elites. So elites are those people who have power in the society and they can influence the decision making. So they have social power, as Max Weber contends that in the society there are classes. So these classes distinguish people who have power and those who don't have power. So people who have power are the one having the say in the society. So these people are called elites. So the overall idea of elitism model is that these elites people are the one involved in the process of public policy formulation. Another is public choice model. The origin of this approach may be found in the work of Gordon Turok, Anthony Downs, and William Nixon. So public choice theory rejects the traditional idea of policy as a search for public welfare, like private entrepreneurs who are intent upon maximizing profit. Also, politicians are guided by private concern to the same extent to their policy, to their role in the public policy. So as we say that they want to maximize profit, for example, as the entrepreneurs. Also, politicians are guided by private concerns. So they make policies because they want something from the public. What they made is because they want credits from the public. So a maximization of politicians' objective results in the selection of those policies that tend to meet citizens' persuasion expectations. So politicians they formulate things that meet expectations of the citizen. So they satisfy citizen for the return of winning election. As we said that they want to maximize their profit. If they want to maximize also, they are driven by private concerns. These private concerns are winning election. So what they decide, it is because they want to win election or they want something from society. So in the political business cycle model, it predicts that the politician is the government who will attempt to manipulate and stimulate the economy before the election. This is very obvious. Before the election, you can actually see that different roads are constructed, different activities are done, people are being given priority. But after election, we see that often the government spend on programs in huge, high, extra attractive and visible before election, but after election they impose and they deficits they deficit the economy, they bring down the economy after the election. So also cycle goes over and over. So after the election they bring down the economy, they bring up more taxes, they impose up more taxes. So during the election period during the election period or before election, they also start to make things become more better. So this is like a game. So people are trying to play like a game so that they can get something on the return. So the overall idea of public choice model is that politician wants to maximize their profit. As long as they want to maximize their profit, or they have their own private concerns, they tend to implement or to formulate the policies that meet citizen expectation or satisfaction. So in order they can get something on return, because when you do something for someone, in return they must get something from you also. So this marks the end of our discussion today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and have a wonderful time. Thank you.